Right, everybody, thank you very much for jumping on. Always a pleasure. Property Thursday. And as you know, regular listeners, we invite one of our partners or a solicitor, a mortgage broker, whoever it may be, to talk about their particular aspect to do with property. And down there you can see Darren, who's our resident mortgage expert. Hello, Darren.
Hello, Christopher.
Very well indeed. And Michael, nice to see you.
Afternoon.
You wait till your beard goes grey like me soon. And of course, Will Page, who's in Kazakhstan and heads up the operation with IP Global. Hi, William.
Morning again, Chris.
So today is all about Sheffield, and I know probably two things about Sheffield. One, they've got two football clubs, and it's where you make knives and forks. Apart from that, I have little knowledge, but I do know it's in West Yorkshire, and I know it's beautiful surrounds around there, but know little about the property market. But I do know that you've had some amazing success already with this particular project. So I've seen some numbers. So over to you, Will. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris. Michael, can you just draw up the slides? Are they on? Perfect. Thank you. Right. Well, thank you for having us on today. So we're going to have a little bit of a launch and a presentation about our new development in Sheffield today. First slide, please, Michael. We'll just touch on briefly, a little bit about who we are. I mean, most of the people on the call are going to know us. We've been in the business a long time, founded in 2005. And the key thing really about IP Global is our business model. We're a little bit different to our competitors. We're not a developer, but at the same time, we're kind of not an agency. We kind of sit in the middle. We're an underwriting business. So effectively, that means that we commit to buying the developments that we bring to market. So we are aligned to completion, effectively, because that's when we make our profits. We are offering a full end-to-end service, which is through our sister companies, Complete Letting and Management, for example. They manage the apartments for our clients. They find the tenants. They deal with the ongoing management and rental of the apartment. So effectively, it's a long-term relationship that we build with the clients that invest with us. And in terms of sort of what we're going to talk about today, we're going to start with a little bit about the UK. Most of you probably know, but effectively, the UK is a very solid place to be investing. We started investing in the UK after the financial crisis until 2009. We started off investing heavily into London, and then we saw a lot of growth in London. And then as the value slowly dried up in London, we started venturing into some of the smaller cities. We went into Manchester in 2015. Same sort of time we went into Birmingham. Great cities, good places to be investing. But now we're also trying to see if we can find value and good opportunities in what we're kind of calling the tier 3 cities, so the slightly smaller cities. So cities like Leeds and Sheffield and even Glasgow up in Scotland. So this is a bit of a focus for us at the moment.
Will, can I just interrupt you there? I got a message from Donald, who works for us, who asked me this morning about Portugal and Berlin. And I said, tune in, because you'll probably get a bit on both of those cities and what you're doing either later on in the show or whatever. So just to give you a heads up, because Donald is sitting there waiting. But carry on, William.
Yeah, look, exactly, Chris. Thanks for pointing out. Look, we're a global business. We've invested in over 18 different markets to date. So Germany is a big focus, in particular Berlin and also Leipzig. And then more recently, we ventured into Portugal, and we've got opportunities in both Lisbon and Porto as well. So yeah, we do have quite a wide spread in some of these good, safe locations to be investing. Michael, I think you're up next.
Yeah, so thanks, Will. Obviously, what we want to look at is just take a look at what's happening in the UK economy. We know what's currently happening, what's happened recently, but we'll kind of want to go back, looking at the top slide. This is from Oxford Economics, and we're looking at the GDP growth and what's happening within Europe. You can see obviously Germany and the UK, as we all know, are the two powerhouses of Europe. But it's just really interesting to see that the darker graph is at 2000, then leading up to 2020, and then the projections going up to 2035. You can see that Germany's kind of leading the way at the moment, back in 2020, but the growth that the UK is projected from this data is looking at 84% growth in the next 14, 15 years, which is kind of only reflects why we are continually to invest in the UK, and we'll continue to invest there along with Germany. And then taking a look at the bottom graph here, we're looking at the 20 largest cities, excluding London. I mean, obviously we know London will be probably way above all of these cities here. So it's important to look at, as Will said, we're looking at the tier 2, tier 3 cities where there's going to be some growth and some real chance of profit on your investment in the mid to long term. So we can see kind of, within the top 10 there, Sheffield is there. It's one of the highest that's had growth, leading in 2020, leading up to there. And then actually the projected growth up to 2035 of 82%. Again, that's one of the top out of the whole of these 20 large cities in the UK. So that really kind of spiked our interest. We've been looking at Sheffield for over a year now and trying to find the right development. And, you can just see by these figures, that's the reason, another reason why we have. This is some data that we pulled out that we thought was very, very interesting and important to look at. We've also got the data for Sheffield, which we'll show later on in the slides. But, just looking at where, we know the economy is growing. We've just shown that, and we're projecting growth in the economy. But how does that affect well, it's in dollars, but how does that affect the income in the households? And you can kind of see, interestingly, that the $0 to $35,000 is gradually going down quite dramatically, but actually even more dramatically, that kind of upper end of the $100,000 plus income per household is going up by 2035, up by 190%. So it's really showing that, yes, the economy is strong, but also that there are businesses out there still investing in the UK, and the jobs and the income bands are increasing quite dramatically. And that's only going to help secure these investments that our investors have.
Thanks, Michael. So just having a look at this next graph, what you've got here is the total value of housing stock in the UK. And again, this is Oxford Economics data, and you can just see here that their prediction is that the housing stock is going to increase, dramatically over the next sort of 15 years. So, why is this happening? I think Michael's pointed that out. We've got a strong economy, we've got a growing economy, and we've got people earning more money. Effectively, for property to go up in value, you need an undersupply, which we know we have in the UK, and then you need people to be earning more money for that to be able to filter through into the rental market and obviously the sale market. So all the data is aligned and pointing to the fact that we should see some good solid growth in the UK over the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I think just to point out the little bit of the kind of stat that we have at the top there, only 716 or just over 716,000 houses were completed in that 4-year period. The other way to look at it is, there's nearly 400,000 units that weren't completed, and that's just their target, and that's probably not taken into account, the actual population growth that's happened and the demand that has increased during that period of time. So, that only just validates this massive undersupply that we have in the UK. So we just wanted to move on. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the UK and as why we invest there and why we'll continue to invest there. But obviously today we're here to speak about Sheffield. Hoping that many of you do know the city. It is a popular city for a number of reasons, but just kind of wanted to go into the investment case, why we've chosen this city from a financial point of view, and then move on to the project. So just taking a look at the economy, and again, we've looked at the UK as a whole, and you can see that really Sheffield has trended the same way, if not, it's done better than what we looked at on the average side. The economy's grown nearly 95% since 2000. We'll see in a moment that there was a clear dip kind of in the financial crisis, which everyone did have, but since then it's just increased year on year, and the projections going up to 2035, not only on the GDP side, but we're looking at this pound per capita. So this is how much money each individual is going to be putting into the economy on an annual basis, and you can just see that growing. And obviously up to 42,000, almost 43,000 pounds per person by 2035. And just to touch on why we're looking at this data and we're looking at up to 2035, it's important to know that when we're looking at our investments, we're looking at this mid to long term basis. It's not a case of, look, buy a property or invest in a property and then sell it in 2-3 years time. We're always looking at this data to make sure that it's an investment that's going to be that long standing, 5, 10, 15-year period. That's why we're looking at this data all the way up to that.
It's also interesting, Michael and Will, the press this week on the radio and on in the newspapers about these regional cities, and in particular, funny enough, Sheffield and York were mentioned and highlighted. These areas are going above the national average, and that's what the data was saying. So, we're ahead of the curve, let's put it that way, or at the same time as the curve.
Yeah, and I think, Chris, you're right. And I think one of the key reasons, you can even see it here, when we look at the unemployment rate, let's just take a look at that as an example. These kind of cities really got hit hard in the financial crisis. That's the big cities, London, it got hit and everything else, but, they rebounded very, very quickly. These other regional cities didn't. But what's happened is they've recovered well. And as you can see, the unemployment rate was around just over 11%. And it's now down to around 4%. Okay, there might be a bit of an increase. We understand that across the nation for what's happened currently, but with the economy growth, the financial side per capita, we just see that increasing and the unemployment continuing the downward trend.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. Questions just come in, actually. I'm bringing Darren in. When it comes to mortgages at these regional cities, is it the same story for everywhere else, or how does it work on the mortgage side of things? Phil mentioned earlier on, you're an end-to-end service and mentioned letting and management. But of course, the mortgage is intrinsic to what's going on.
It's exactly the same, Chris. So with it being a new build, still the same loan to values. With what we found is certain lenders will lend in certain areas as well. So I know Sheffield, there's a few lenders that will, in that postcode, will actually look at those a little bit more favourably, but the loan to value is still going to be the same. And
when we're saying the same, we're talking 65, 70.
Yeah.
That's what, and yes. Rates between 3.5 and 4, or maybe more, but
maybe depending, about 3.5 to, it can be a little bit more, but obviously depends on the client situation and where they're based, etc. But yeah, they're exactly the same as everything else.
And it's worth noting, when it comes to all the projects that Holborn promote, there's a lot of due diligence that goes into these things, and supply and demand, planning permission, mortgage availability. So it's gone through its due diligence. Sorry, I interrupted you, Michael. Carry on.
No, it's fine. It's actually a great question, and it's a good point to make. And I think and I'm sure Will will touch on it as well. But we are, with all of our projects now, we're actively speaking to banks, speaking to people like obviously Darren, and making sure that there are banks. We know which banks are willing to lend in that area, are willing to lend on projects before we've even signed on a project. That's very important for us and very important for our investors, because there's no point in reserving an investment if you can't get the mortgage in 12 to 18, 24 months time. So that's definitely something that we're tackling in the front end, rather than forgetting about it and worrying about it at the back end.
So there was a question regarding that, Michael, actually, about validity of mortgage agreements. So what we're actually saying is get the mortgage agreed in principle initially. So then the clients will know they can actually get a mortgage going forward, and then 6 months before completion, we'll then check again lenders' criteria. The lenders come and go all the time, interest rates, but it's really, really important to make sure that clients are getting the mortgage agreed soon as they reserve, not waiting until the end of the process. We've had some issues where people have just waited far too late, and they end up then paying, I think the highest one we've had to pay is like 6.5%. Whereas if they'd done the initial, once they've actually reserved the property, they could have got it about 3.5%. So it's just cost the client the money. So, but yeah, it's always beneficial as soon as the client's reserved, literally get that agreement principle done, and then we could just review it 6 months prior to completion.
Yeah, and then they're just safe in the knowledge that obviously unless their personal circumstances change, if they stick, if they're all the same, then they're safe in the knowledge that actually, in 12 months' time, yes, like you're right, obviously banks' criteria does change, hopefully not too dramatically, but not everyone's requirements will change, right? So we can move it across to another lender. So yeah, fantastic.
But we can deal with that. So we've had a couple where not this development, but another one where the client's situation hasn't changed, but just the lender's criteria. So then we've had to replace this mortgage, and it's delaying. So then it's costing the client having to go into, like I said, hit higher interest rate or even bridging. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that from start to finish, it's nice and smooth. There's no stress. The closer we get to completion, the more pressure we're putting on clients, and the more pressure we're putting on you guys as well as us, really, which is obviously one great. So.
Michael.
So thanks for the input, Chris. So just having another quick look at them. We've looked at the household income in the UK, but it'd be worth having a look a little bit closer and see what's happening to these income brackets in Sheffield. So again, quite a complicated graph. We do like a complicated graph at IP Global, but what you've got here in the dark blue is the lower bracket of income households. So those earning between $0 and $35,000. And you can see how that's trending down. So since 2010, it's trended down by today, or last year, to 102,000 people sitting in that bracket, and then predicted to be down at only 44,000 people come 2035. So that's trending down. And obviously a result of that is that the middle bracket is moving up. So the yellow is the middle bracket, those earning between 35,000 and 100. And you can see how that's trended up and is pretty much last year, 128,000 people. And then you've got where it's going to come sort of 2035. And then obviously the higher bracket as well is benefiting as people move through those brackets and start earning more money. But again, it's all about, this is the sort of data that we look at, why are house prices going to be moving in an upward trend? And that is because there isn't enough supply and people are earning more money, and that will enable, pressure to be put on the housing pricing.
Yeah, and just touch on that. We looked at the national average, the household income. I think that larger bracket, the 100,000 plus, was going up by like 100%, or just over 100% by 2035. Now, I mean, you can really see what's projected and what's going to be happening in Sheffield. By that's going up by over 800%, in the next 14, 15 years. So yeah, it's really positive to see that, and the investment that's coming into the city to help boost that income as well.
Exactly, Michael. And this trend is similar in other cities in the north. Clearly the government, every government that comes in is trying to diversify the UK's wealth away from the southeast corner and away from London. And that is being successful. And we're seeing more and more wealth being pushed into the northern cities, which is very promising. So just in terms of, where are these people going to be earning their money from? Where's the employment in Sheffield? Well, there is a big banking sector. So HSBC have got one of their big offices there. They employ over 2,700 people in the city. The airport is a big employer as well, with 33,000 people working at Doncaster Sheffield Airport. There's quite a bit of engineering and manufacturing. Obviously, Rolls-Royce have got one of their innovation offices up there. They've put a big investment into Sheffield, as well as Boeing. And even McLaren, the car maker as well. So there's a lot going on in Sheffield, and there's a lot more to come as well. And in terms of sort of, Michael, your slide.
Yeah, no, it's just obviously we're talking about regeneration, and this is one of the key pillars that we look at for all of our investments. And we're looking at obviously having some kind of education, transportation, regeneration, and this is a key thing. And then looking at, just wanted to pick out really, just some highlight ones. Number 7, Sheffield City Regional Investment Fund. It's over £700 million are being invested to accommodate an extra 68,000 jobs opportunities by 2022. You can just see these. There's a new development deal. Number 5, there are over 7,000 new jobs. So you can see all of these things that are happening, or there's some that have already completed, ones that are ongoing, but it's all about regenerating the city centre and the surrounding areas, but also the job creation. As Will already mentioned, the Doncaster Sheffield Airport, 33,000 jobs just on that one opportunity alone. I touched on education.
It's always important to think about students. Students are going to come back every year. They're going to rent stock. They're going to put pressure on the housing stock. So we've got over 50,000 students across two of the major universities. Certainly, I think our development that we're going to talk about is potentially something that will be rented by some of the sort of slightly wealthier, perhaps sort of international students as well. But again, Sheffield's a young city. And Sheffield is retaining a lot of this graduation. A lot of the graduates that come out of university are also sort of being retained in the city as well. So, always good to be investing in a good, strong university city.
Yeah, and you mentioned the international students there, Will, and there's just over 12,000 of the 52,000 students are international students, and I think we do see these kind of student accommodation offerings every now and then, especially in this region. Which are very small units, etc., etc. So when investors are asking us, who are the people that would be going to be looking to rent here, then certainly, an international student, a parent from abroad might be wanting to put their child into a nice environment rather than a self-contained kind of student accommodation. So definitely, this project will be of interest for them. So just touching on the housing market, and we wanted to look at, we looked at globally the housing undersupply. We just wanted to kind of, these two graphs here, put them together, really just show that the population trend, and obviously Sheffield's housing plan and completions, which is the bottom graph there. You can see it's obviously they want to trend the completions with the population growth. But on the bottom graph there, the dark green number is actually the number of completions that have happened. And, I think it's 4.5% of the houses in Sheffield have been completed in the last 8 years, only 4.5%. So you can, even with that stat, you can envisage that there just isn't a lot of new developments that have happened in Sheffield or happening. But obviously, when you're looking at the population increase, which is trending on a massive upward scale, it's only going to create that kind of undersupply, which is due to be around 26% by 2035. Will, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Michael, I've got a very broken connection. Can you just carry on? It's very broken.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks.
I think the one thing that I like about these regenerated areas, it's the government and the local councils that are paying all the money to have them smartened up and regenerated, etc. And you'd be silly not to actually follow on and make use of what they're doing. So we're using somebody else's money really to get a good investment, and that's happening obviously in other places that IP Global have got. But Sheffield looks especially exciting, and I know you haven't got to it yet, but price point obviously comes into it. Sorry,
yeah. And I think no, it's fine. I think people don't look at regeneration enough. Investors sometimes get nervous when they look at a location that might not look appealing, or there might be graffiti on the buildings surrounding it or something like that, where the whole area hasn't been regenerated yet. But ideally for us, that's exactly what we want to look at. We want to look at these areas that haven't yet been completed, haven't yet had a new surrounding, of 4 or 5 different apartment blocks. We want to be the first there, and we want our investors to be part of that growth that will happen as soon as we are the new shiny building, and then everything else comes up around us. So yeah, that's definitely something to be aware of and consider when you're looking at projects. So here we are. This is a CGI of the building. It's not currently there yet. It's obviously it's due to be complete at the end of 2022. But this is on the corner here. There's 84 units in the whole development, of which we have an exclusivity of 50 of those units with IP Global. It comprises of studios, a combination of studios, 1-bedrooms and 2-bedroom apartments. As you can see from the CGI on the right-hand side there's a little courtyard area. There's going to be a little bit of a residence garden, which is obviously exclusive to residents only. contemporary interior design, spacious, bright rooms. It's something that we always look for with our developments, making sure you kind of have almost these floor-to-ceiling windows, nice bright apartments, and good environments for the tenants. And I'll show them in a map in a moment, but it's a stone throw away from Kelham Island, which has had recently had a massive regeneration and a very popular place for bars, restaurants, and for people to visit. Now, there's a bit of a lot going on here on this map, but it's just to show you, so you can just see on the north, just north of the river, where the red dot is. That's where Kelham Island is. Kelham Ridge, the project is, and just south of that is Kelham Island. But there's lots close by. You can see that the two universities are within, one's within a 15-minute, one's within a 23-minute walk away. So we'll talk about the education side of things, looking at employment hubs. You've got HSBC headquarters only 21 minutes away. Again, McLaren, Rolls-Royce that we touched on, they're all within a 10 to 15-minute drive away. The city centre is only a 15-minute walk into the city centre from there. There's plenty a lot going on. You can see that little cluster of green that's kind of 1 to 7 there. That's Kelham Island, where you've got a lot, as mentioned, you've got some bars, restaurants, and a lot going on for the any potential tenant to be involved with.
And the brewery, Michael, I just don't know why you saw that.
I knew you'd spot that there, Chris.
Yeah, out of all of those, it just jumped out at me. Kelham Island Brewery. Nice.
Yeah, that's right on the river. Yeah, it's a really it's one of the kind of local breweries, and yeah, I think I've actually tried their beers. Very nice.
I think I've got a good connection now, Michael, but it's worth pointing out Kelham Island is a very cool area. I think it was actually voted Britain's coolest area to be hanging out in, Chris. So you fit in very well. But in there, you've got a lot of old factories, sort of red brick kind of factories that were in the manufacturing sector. A lot of those sort of old warehouses have been converted to residential, as well as some nice sort of micro breweries and little bars and wine cafes and things. So that's very much kind of like the sort of young professional kind of student area, and absolutely where everybody kind of hangs out. So to be sort of right on the doorstep of that is perfect. And as Michael says, just to give you an idea about how slow some of these people walk, but a 20-minute walk into HSBC, it's only just over a mile actually to get there. So you're only about a mile away from bang in the middle of the town as well.
So just wanted to go on to the project, just talking about some key facts about the development, the developer, the investment room, well-established developer, which is again important for us, important for all of our investors. As Will mentioned, we co-invest with these developers, so it's important for us to know what they've done in the past. Have some track record. They've completed over 35 different projects in the UK that are completed and up and running. So yeah, we're very pleased to partner with the investment room. As I mentioned, there was 84 units, of which we've taken 50 of them exclusively, and we have available for our investors, ranging from studios to 2 bedrooms. So the price ranging from £105,000 going up to £185,000 for the largest of the 2 bedrooms. But on average, you're looking at a price per square foot of around £287. Now, some key things just to kind of look at. Obviously, it's a leasehold, as it's an apartment, so it's over 250 years. The ground rent will be 0.1% of the sale price, which is, again, Darren will say that's important for, I see him smiling there, that's important for mortgages. And that's something to highlight, actually, when we talk about this. I don't think this is highlighted enough. If you are looking at investments, that's a key thing to remember. Look at what is the ground rent, ask that question. Because if it's over 0.1%, as Darren will say, you won't be getting a mortgage on that property. Or what will happen is potentially the management company or the landlord will turn around and say, you have to pay or overpay what the ground rent is to bring it down to that 0.1% level. So that's just a key thing to remember. So completion date, we talked about November 2022. And we're looking at yields and again, we look at one of the reasons why we're in these locations in these tier 2, tier 3 cities, the yields of up to 6.6% on your investment.
A question has just come in, and I please encourage people to ask questions as we're going. How does Sheffield compare to Manchester on the price and growth curve? William, good for you?
Yeah, probably a good one for me. I mean, I remember when we went into Manchester back in 2015, Chris, and we were buying at, you know, £315 a square foot at that stage, kind of in central Manchester. So, you know, we secured a number of projects there now, and you can easily pay in central Manchester 400 to even £450 a square foot now. So, you know, we've had 5 years of very strong growth in Manchester. I think, you know, I still think it's a good place to be putting some money, but it, you know, how much growth are you going to be seeing over the next 5 or 10 years? It's difficult to see how it can compete. So I think getting into something like Sheffield, something like Leeds, there's a little bit more value in clearly. There are better yields, and there's just more room for growth. So, you know, we're our focus at the moment isn't on Manchester, and it's really for that reason that it's had 5 years of very strong growth, and there's potentially more value in Sheffield and these kind of cities.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Another question's come in. Sorry, just giving Michael a bit of a rest. What will you expect? This is down for you, Darren. What will you expect the mortgage rate to be in 2022? Same, lower, or higher than now?
So if you just give me 2 seconds, I just need to get my crystal ball out. But no idea, Chris. Unfortunately, I don't see there being any reason to worry the interest rates are going to rise at the moment. Like William and Michael are saying, the UK government is trying to encourage growth. So they want people to spend their money, not to save it. So there's no point in increasing interest rates because nobody's saving any money anyway. So the government actually wants people to go out and spend their money. So there's no point in actually increasing interest rates to encourage people to save. So I think maybe it may be a year or two, the interest rates probably stay the same. But I can't see them going up. And even if they do go up, maybe by 0.25%, but they'll be the lowest they've ever been. So to give an example, five years ago, the average mortgage rate, you're probably talking 5.5%. So sometimes 6%, but now you're talking mid 3s. So it's only, I think it's probably only going to go up by about 0.25%. So there's nothing to worry about.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Sorry, Michael, on you go.
Sorry, Michael.
No. It's good. It's good to get the questions. I like getting the questions as we go along. It's useful. I mean, look, Will, did you have anything to add on to the key facts? Anything else you wanted to add about the number side?
No, I think, Michael, I think that sums it up well. You know, we've sold a lot of these units, but we still have some availability in all of those price brackets. So yeah, I think that sums it up well. The next page is just some of the sort of CGIs of the internals of the building. You can see that they're very nicely finished units, well designed. They use space well, and you know they're perfect for young professionals to be you know, making good use of and setting up shop in Sheffield to study and work in the city centre.
Questions just come in, probably for you, Michael. Somebody just written in, if I was interested, what do I have to pay and how long does it take? Could you answer that?
Yeah, I can do. Certainly. We've got, you know, if people are interested to delve into the figures, you know, even down to the where each pound goes, you know, we have a really good returns model that we can go through that detail. But just in brief, it's a 20% deposit, and then 80% is due on completion. Now, obviously, when we're looking at, and I'm sure Darren will say, we're looking at mortgage side of things, we're looking at around kind of a 70% loan to value, you know, 70% to potentially 65%, depending on your personal circumstances. So, you know, if you're looking at, it would be 20% down now. What obviously in the UK we call it exchange of contracts, which will generally take around 28 days. So you need to have that 20% plus, you know, maybe a couple of £1,000 for solicitors and a couple of other costs on top of that, and then that'll be within the next 28 days, and then you'd have the mortgage in place and additional deposits for the mortgage on completion.
And a reservation fee just to hold the unit that you get back on exchange is how much is that?
It's £2,500 to reserve the unit. Now that I don't like calling it a fee because we actually refund it back to you, so it's almost like a reservation payment. You know, it's just a bit of a commitment. It's a simple payment, and we reserve the unit for you. And then we pass on the details to the solicitors, and then we go through the process and kind of help guide you through that process to exchange and continue on all the way through until completion in 2022. November.
Yeah. For clients that have jumped on, go to your wealth manager and ask them for details. We can get cash flows for any particular unit, or in fact, you know, go through me, and I would put you in touch with people at IP Global. But yeah, it's a very, very well-trodden path, reserving it and going for a property. And I know there are people listening from all over, from South Africa, from Malaysia, from all parts, in Lebanon as well. I know the guys from Lebanon have tuned in. So it's a well-trodden path. We know what we're doing. Reservation fee, that holds it. All the paperwork goes off to the solicitors. They come back to you in 28 days time, or whatever it may be. The 20% to be paid, and the rest on completion. And Darren will be working his magic. And Darren touched on it. I think Darren likes to start at least 5 months before completion to get the mortgage. But you know, for a small fee, you can actually get a pre-approval and make sure that whatever your circumstances are, that you are, you know, that Darren can actually glance his eye over it and make sure that you are in a good position wherever you are in the world. The question that came up this morning is, what happened to somebody in Zimbabwe? Can they get a mortgage in the UK? What about people in Lebanon? So Darren's the expert, and he can answer all those questions. But yes, as I say, a well-trodden path, and we know what we're doing, and certainly IP Global do. And going back to Donald, we haven't really gone into depth into what you wanted to hear, which was Portugal and Berlin. But you can reach out to the guys and they can do that. So it looks beautiful. Nice bedroom.
Yeah, just touch while we're looking at those images. I mean, obviously we've got, as we know, it's off plan. It's not built yet, but we do have a couple of virtual tours that we've worked with the developer to put together some examples of the 1 and 2 bedrooms which we can share. And also you see furniture in there. That's something Will mentioned earlier on about Complete, which is the management side of the business. We can offer that as well. There's a potential for furnishing the properties if needed. And that can all be done so that you can have this, what we like to call a hands-off investment, where you don't have to physically be there when the property is completed and furnish it yourself from IKEA or any other reputable furnishing company.
Yeah, it's a good point, Michael. It's a good point, Michael. We're there on the ground. You know, we'll deal with the snagging of the apartment come completion, make sure everything's correct, collect the keys, market the properties for rent. So we're there right at the end to support, to obviously make this income generating, which is the goal, right?
That's great. Well, thank you very much. Some questions have come in, but you've answered them as you've been going along. So thank you, Michael. Brilliant. Thank you, Will, as always. Darren, next week, I think we're doing anything. Let's do Preston next week, Darren.
Fantastic.
So everybody, thanks everyone for jumping in. Recordings of this will be on the website, which is Holborn Assets Property. This recording and others are on there. But go back to your wealth managers if you want anything in particular, and we'll furnish you whatever you want. So thanks again, guys, and thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Chris.
As always, well done, marketing.